Okay, well, thank you for having me present today and provide a little bit of information about Leidos as a whole. I'll just kind of start and introduce myself and my role within the company. And then I'm going to present. There's only about maybe 10 to 12 slides here. So I'll go through these pretty quickly. Just want to give everybody that's watching and listening, sort of an overall understanding of Leidos as a company. And then I also want to hit on our Leidos career site and go through some best practices and just kind of like a um, show kind of navigating our career opportunities on the Leidos career site. So to kind of start out and sort of reset, my name is Alex Verholst, and I'll have my contact information in this slide deck. So certainly, anybody attending can reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, all that good stuff. I run our military program here at Leidos. So I fall under talent acquisition or recruiting and run our military veteran program that falls under that. So, I'm going to try to sort of provide an overall corporate overview of the company and our different lines of business and core competency areas, just, for anybody that's maybe not, intimately familiar with Leidos and everything it is that we do. And then, because of my background in talent acquisition recruiting, I want to kind of go through a demonstration of our career site, because our career site over the course of the last few years, like most organizations, has become a much more useful tool in identifying specific positions within the company. It's been more optimized for mobile use, and it's certainly light years ahead of where it was several years ago in your ability to really drill down and identify specific positions with us. So I just kind of want to run through that at the end, and I'll share. I'll switch to sharing the website view then. But like I said, first I just kind of want to go over Leidos, go over the organization, and then kind of give everybody a kind of broad level view of Leidos as a whole. So just to kind of start out before I get into our different core competency areas and groups, you can kind of see there, just kind of our company overview of the organization in general. So we're a large company, and there will be a couple slides here that show where we are geographically and our kind of reach across the world. But the best way to describe us is we're a worldwide government contractor. We primarily do work within the federal government space. We're, like I said, all over the world, all over the country, and I'll hit on some of those locations here momentarily. We have over 38,000 total employees now, over $11 billion company. So there's a lot of work, obviously, at Leidos. There's a lot of opportunities. I think at any given time, we're going to have well north of 3,000 openings on our website. So, even if there is maybe a downtick in work with a specific government customer or area of business, right, we're diversified enough that we've, been able to see consistent growth throughout the past several years, kind of as other companies, maybe have been acquired or have been, looking to kind of cut costs. We're continuing to grow, continuing to merge and acquire new pieces of business to become, an even more significant presence in the government contracting industry. And then that second kind of paragraph there speaks to, my role and our military program in general. And you can kind of see, we're consistently recognized and ranked, as a top military employer across a variety of different awards and rankings and publications and things like that. We have just around 7,800 veterans within the company now. So we're right at about a fifth of our workforce being military veterans. We've been able to consistently grow our veteran workforce year after year, which has been really good to see. So even as we grow as a company overall, we're not losing that voice of our veterans and our military spouses within the company. We're continuing to stay right around that fifth or so, 20%, sometimes a little higher than that. But over the last several years, even with the acquisitions and the growth that we've seen. So I'll spend more time on some of these slides than others because I do want to be able to, back out and get through some of the Q&A after I complete this. And then, like I said, do the demonstration of our career site. So, there's a lot of information out there online, obviously. Our website has gone through a fairly recent facelift. So if you just go to our Leidos.com page, and especially Leidos.com, and then / the word markets. And I can share those links in a little bit later, but you'll be able to view a lot of good information about Leidos and our different business lines and things like that. So as far as you can kind of see our mission statement there, and some of our core values and everything like that. Certainly our diversity and inclusion and our significant number of employee resource groups, to include our military alliance group for veterans and military spouses and veteran advocates, is definitely falls under that, and kind of speaks to the overall corporate culture here at Leidos, that we try to really promote. Because we're a large company, right? And a lot of times, depending on the work you're doing and the customer you're supporting, you may even identify more with that particular customer, right, than you do with Leidos as a whole. But through what we do with our employee resource groups and our community outreach and our community relations, we try to kind of foster a good organization, and foster those kind of sense of community there within the organization. So here you can kind of see our executive leadership team. You can get some basics on Leidos, right? We do have a lot of positions that require security clearances, but with the size we are and with how diverse we are with the customers we support and different types of work, there's plenty of positions at Leidos that don't require any sort of clearance or anything like that at all. But you can see, there's a good amount of individuals with the company that have, postgraduate degrees, doctorates. At our heart, right, when we were founded over 50 years ago, we were a scientific research company. So Leidos, for those that aren't aware, just to kind of do a quick history, Leidos is the legacy SAIC. So we were formed in February of 1969. And throughout the early years of Leidos, really focused a lot on scientific research and development, a lot of work with Department of Energy, with NASA, a lot of work as it relates to some pretty cool stuff. It's a company really founded basically by rocket scientists. And then over the course of decades, right, and especially here over the last 20 or so years, we've really shifted heavily into defense, intelligence, and here really recently, within probably the last 5 or so years, really had a strong increase in work within the healthcare and electronic healthcare space. So now we just celebrated our 50th anniversary. In February of last year. We rebranded from SAIC to Leidos in October of 2013. So completely separate companies now. There is, an SAIC that exists now, but we are that legacy organization. And now we classify ourselves, as primarily an information technology company, but as we'll kind of see moving forward with our different lines of business and the work that we perform, there's a lot more than just, IT and you know, in those technical type roles. There's quite a bit that we do. We're probably one of the most diverse government contractors out there. So, you know, it's a benefit in the sense that we have a lot of different types of opportunities, but it sometimes makes it a little difficult to, you know, effectively, you know, put your finger on, you know, exactly what Leidos is known for, right? Because we're not out there promoting a, you know, a fighter jet or a weapon system, you know, or something specific. A lot of a lot of what we do revolves around our people and our subject matter expertise that we provide our government customers. So I'll just kind of go over there. You can see, you know, the different groups that we have within the company. I do kind of want to hit on our global reach as well as our reach across the United States. So we're in over 40 states. Believe we're in over 120 countries and territories across the world. All told, we are at I think 410 plus locations worldwide. So this just gives you an idea sort of some of the different locations within the United States. You can see there, right, 55% or so at customer sites. So what that means is basically a little over half of our work is working directly with our customer on site. So could be, you know, a government facility, could be a military installation, but basically, you know, Leidos employee working directly with, you know, a government service employee or, you know, an active duty service member, you know, often other companies and contractors involved in that too. So a lot of our work that allows us to bill the government directly, right, really thrives off the, you know, the experience that our employees are bringing to those situations, but also their work ethic and how well they're, you know, engaging with their counterparts, whether again it be somebody in the government or the military, depending on where that work is and who we're supporting. We're headquartered in Reston, Virginia. Our global headquarters actually just opened here earlier this year. We moved into a brand new building that's all Leidos in the Reston Town Center area in Reston, Virginia. So we just jumping ahead here to our kind of our worldwide reach. So you can kind of see there we have a presence across the globe. Some of this work is handled through subsidiaries of ours, like work within the United Kingdom and Europe and Australia. And when I go through the demonstration of our career site, I'll kind of hit on that briefly. But you can see, you know, we have a presence really worldwide. So there's opportunities if you're looking to potentially relocate or, you know, if you're looking for a temporary duty assignment, but just in general, just knowing how much Leidos does really to, you know, support U.S. and U.S. allies across the globe. You know, I think is something that's really interesting and really kind of shows the reach we have within you know, the world at large. All right, so I'm just going to kind of focus a little bit on each of our groups here. And like I said, I won't necessarily spend a ton of time. Certainly these slides would be available for anybody who wants it. You know, this recording will be made available. And then also, as I mentioned, on our Leidos Markets page, you can get even more robust and in-depth information on our groups. But you can see here, right, so our civil group, the best way I kind of describe this is that it's all the work supporting the federal government that sort of falls outside of defense, intelligence, and health. So, you know, the federal civilian market, a lot of it centers around transportation, certainly logistics, IT, certainly information technology is a big piece of that, aviation, but you can see there, you know, some of these relationships span the length of the, you know, company's existence, particularly there, you know, you look at NASA, FAA, right? You know, so we've been supporting these customers essentially since we were founded 50 plus years ago. And then as far as, you know, work within the Department of Energy and National Science Foundation. There's a lot of pretty cool scientific research and R&D type work that we do supporting these different federal civilian customers. So let me kind of reach the conclusion here, and then I'll kind of circle back to any questions and kind of take it from there. So jumping ahead, Defense Group, pretty self-explanatory, but this is the work that we do supporting Department of Defense. We support different, obviously the different service branches. We support different combatant commands, joint commands. We have work within special operations, the special operations community, and SOCOM and areas like that, and even within some classified intelligence customers that fall under DoD. So there's a lot of cool work that we do here, and really within the DoD space. We're doing work across a variety of different areas. You're always going to see work within information technology, cybersecurity, software development, things like that. But I also like to mention work that we do from like an operations standpoint, certainly logistics. There's OCONUS work, overseas work that we're doing supporting DoD and the special operations community. So whether it's kind of large scale, enterprise IT modernization, or it's something that's, strictly focused on, a specific maybe intelligence or special operations mission. There's a lot that we do across the defense group that, supports both overt and covert, military operations, abroad. So it's definitely a huge crux of what we do. You can see there, pretty much all that work is supporting the federal government and supporting DoD in general. So I mentioned health earlier, and I definitely want to touch on the work that we do in the health space, because this is work that has grown significantly over the last few years here. And, especially with healthcare IT and electronic health records, it's something that we have become more and more involved in, and hopefully will continue to be able to advance as far as the accessibility and customization of those electronic health records. But basically, we have work with the Defense Health Agency. We have work with the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we help provide both both in creating and providing sort of technical support for electronic health records and healthcare IT for active duty service members as well as their dependents, and also for veterans through their through the work that we have supporting the VA. So as I said, that work has certainly grown considerably over the last few years. And then also within the health group, something that's especially timely right now is the work we do within biomedical research and infectious disease research. So we do have clinical research and clinical lab positions and work that we do supporting National Institutes of Health, supporting the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. So we, and also we have a large contract at Fort Detrick, Maryland, at Frederick National Laboratory, supporting the National Cancer Institute there. So this is all work that we've been doing for, a long time. But as I said, with obviously things like clinical research and infectious disease research becoming even more timely right now. It's definitely something I like to highlight, as well as our work with health IT and electronic health records, because that's something that we are looking to really be at the an industry leader in providing those to not just the veteran community, but some work that we have that we are kind of growing little by little is work within the commercial healthcare space too. So utilizing some of that same technology and some of those same capabilities, and helping with health IT records and help physicians and nurses within the commercial health space as well. And to kind of round out our intelligence group. So certainly over the course of the last couple decades, we have become increasingly tied into the intelligence community, but honestly, this is something that really goes all the way back to really being to our founding. We've always sort of had a place and a presence supporting the intelligence community. Like I said, it's something that's difficult to always, externally market and advertise. But we've been the IC and some different agencies within the intelligence community have been customers of ours for decades. So whether it's analytical work, whether it's IT support, software development, or even in some cases it's supporting intelligence operations overseas. There's some really cool work that we do, and that we've been able to, like I said, have a continuous and consistent presence within the intelligence community for, basically the life of the company. All right, and to kind of close things out here, I mentioned work that we did, when the company was founded, right? And some of that scientific research, some of that, bleeding edge, cutting edge research and development type work. It never went away. It still is work that we do, supporting like DARPA or as I mentioned, the intelligence community. We have both internal research and development, IRAD. You can see there on the slide. We also, contract to do some R&D work directly, through artificial intelligence, machine learning, dealing a lot with advanced sensors and things like that. And then you can see Dynetics is a company based in Huntsville, Alabama, that we acquired earlier this year around the February-March timeframe. And we've kind of folded them in because a lot of the reason for the acquisition is a lot of those core capabilities kind of match up with what we've been doing in our Leidos Innovation Center from a science and technology and research and development standpoint. All right, so I just want to kind of pause for a moment on that slide so that everybody can get a chance to grab my information, and then I will take a look at some of the questions that maybe came through, and then switch over to doing a demonstration of our career site. But I did want to kind of give everybody a moment to grab my information, and I can certainly provide this after the fact to make sure that it's sent out or posted for everybody that's attending today that may want to reach out to me directly. So thank you very much for having me present here today. Like I said, I'm going to take a look at some of the questions and see anything I can kind of help answer for anybody. And then I do want to then jump into a demonstration of our Leidos career site and kind of go over some good best practices for identifying positions with us, and keying in on specific types of work in locations and things like that.
Hey, Alex, I don't see any questions that are
Sure.
that were written in there, but I have a question for you. One is what if you don't have a security clearance, what's the possibility of applying for a job and then being able to get processed into that security clearance? Or is that probably not going to happen?
Yeah, so the clearance question is something, okay, I did see, yeah, there was something there in the
clearance
Q&A.
sponsorship. That's probably a better way to write that. Thanks, Joey.
Yeah, so the best, and this actually will be an excellent segue into the career page demonstration. But on our career site, you have the ability to basically filter and sort positions based on the clearance that you need to have. So my recommendation is always to just focus on the clearance level that you have, and as long as you do that, right, you ensure that you meet that qualification level. So the short answer is that yes, there are some positions that may sponsor a clearance, and that will be something that will be identified within the job description itself. But as long as you say, okay, I don't have a clearance, or I have a secret clearance, or whatever clearance level you have, you just focus on making sure you're only looking at positions that have that criteria as far as like the filtering goes. Then you really don't even have to worry about it, right? I recommend to treat that as sort of a nice to have, right? So that, okay, I found a role and there is potentially an opportunity to be sponsored, just kind of consider that to be an added benefit. The one tough thing, right, is if you're trying to break into work supporting, intelligence or the intelligence community, and you don't have a clearance, that's obviously a big roadblock too. So, I recommend looking at companies that do work within that space, right? Even if you don't end up starting doing, work in the cleared space, at least knowing that, okay, there are customers that this company supports that, I could eventually move into doing that. And also, there's some outside the box, there's some, different kind of ways to maybe look at doing, maybe less glamorous type work or something with other companies, right? But that will put you in for a clearance. And then, you kind of use that as a stepping stone to say, okay, now I want to move into like doing work more in the analytical space or something like that. So there's different kind of ways to go about it. But for the purposes of, just looking at positions with Leidos, I really recommend just kind of focusing on the qualifications you meet, right? And then, allowing the, if there's opportunity for that, right? It's certainly something that you can bring up, when you talk to a recruiter about a specific position or something like that, and then maybe just kind of let that help guide you as far as, your career search moving forward. Yes, and I think I can go ahead and put in, if I go to all panelists and attendees, I can put in my my information here really quick. And then, like I said, I want to jump over and do a demonstration of our career site. So just give me one moment to pull that up and post it to the chat.
And while he is doing that, on the behalf of GallantFew, I want to thank Leidos again for being the day sponsor today. Leidos and GallantFew have a nice history, and we really enjoy working with your company, and we appreciate your willingness to work with us to help identify ways for growing employee resource groups and the leadership of those groups across the country.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. All right, so my information, I just posted my information. I believe it should have gone to the attendees and the panelists, so everybody should be able to see it.
It's there. I see it. Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, so let me pull up our career site real quick. And then, like I said, I wanted to kind of go over some recommendations and best practices for this. All right, so everybody should be able to see the Leidos careers page right now.
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so what I wanted to do was kind of do a little bit of a demo here on using some of our filters, because I've found, especially recently, and this was something that certainly I've been asked when we were doing events in person, But you know, I've been doing a lot of virtual events, whether they be workshops or job fairs or just, you know, kind of networking events within the veteran community. And a lot of times, you know, you'll hear or, you know, I'll hear from somebody about, okay, you know, does Leidos do X in location Y, right? So my hope is, and my, you know, expectation from doing this quick demo is just to kind of provide everybody attending today, you know, the tools to help identify specific positions within Leidos, so that, you know, you can kind of help your career search and direct your career search, you know, um, as, you know, kind of as you see fit. So this is our, you know, if it's pretty simple to get to our career site, just careers.leidos.com. You know, you can just Google Leidos careers, it'll be the first thing that comes up. So during my briefing, I mentioned some of our subsidiaries, and I do kind of want to mention that briefly. So, you know, this is kind of mentioned down here, right? So, for example, I mentioned, right, we have subsidiaries like Leidos UK, Leidos Australia. We also, some of that biomedical research work that we do supporting Frederick National Laboratory, you know, that's through a subsidiary of ours called Leidos Biomedical. So there are times where you'll need to utilize the wholly owned subsidiary and their method of applying, right? Dianetics is another good example of that. I mentioned Dianetics. You'd have to go to Dianetics website and apply directly with them. You know, so you're still part of, obviously, the Leidos family. You know, you're still a Leidos employee, but with some of these subsidiaries, right, they haven't all necessarily been fully incorporated into our main career page. So just kind of understand that going in, because if you go in here and you say, you know, hey, why don't I see more jobs right in Huntsville? I thought, you know, Dianetics is based there. It's just, you'll just want to go directly to their site. And there's also a page, if you just go to leidos.com/the word subsidiaries, you'll see a complete list as well as links to their sites of all of our wholly owned subsidiaries, which can be really helpful, again, if you're looking to target work with any of them. But for the purpose of this, I just kind of want to show you, you know, how you can sort of best craft your search looking directly with us. So, you know, there's kind of an initial way, and then there's a little bit more of an advanced way to search. I recommend the more advanced way just because it gives you a lot more greater degree of customization, and you know, and you can really get a lot more targeted that way. But, you know, if you just, you know, in general, right, if you just wanted to see everything we had, right, you know, at, for example, the secret level or something like that, and then you were looking in a particular state, right? So let's just say we wanted to look at Texas, for example. You could do something like this and just get a kind of a quick search for all the positions that we have, right, that meet those criteria. But what I really recommend, and I can kind of back out from here and, and show everybody, is just to use these filters on the left-hand side to really, you know, target and craft your search. So at any time here, right at the top, you can always just clear all filters and then go back to a complete complete listing of everything that that we have available. So what I'll do is go to, let me just back it out here. All right, so what I recommend, like I said, this is one way to kind of go about it. But I find a kind of a better, more useful way is to just go directly to all of our positions that we have posted, and then just use the filters on the left-hand side, because this will allow you to drill down to more specifics, and then you can also kind of back out to make it broader. So I honestly recommend doing this even before you start doing keyword searches, just because you can find that sometimes, depending on the type of work you're looking at, the clearance level, the geographical location, you can narrow it down, you know, really quickly without necessarily having to do, you know, the keyword searches and things like that. One thing to keep in mind is you can see that from a complete list of positions, right, there doesn't really appear like to be any rhyme or reason why they're sorted the way they are. And the reason the way they're sorted is that the more recent positions are always going to be put on top here. So as positions get posted, right, they will go on the top of the list. So you can take from that what you will, right? I mean, keeping in mind that, okay, you know, if you see a position towards the top, it means it was posted more recently. It doesn't necessarily mean that position is going to be filled any quicker, but, you know, it likely means there were probably going to be less applicants that have already, you know, submitted for that particular application. But that's kind of how it's structured, just so you know, you kind of go in eyes wide open and you're aware. So like I said, if you, to kind of go back to the earlier example, right? So say you just kind of wanted to drill down to work that we had right in Texas, right? Well, now you know, you've gone from wherever we were at before, you know, 30, you know, 3,100, 3,200 positions, right? And drilled it all the way down to 140. Things like location, so state, city to a greater degree, and clearance are the filters I recommend using at the start, because they are really going to narrow things down, you know, from a you know, a greater degree. And then after that, I recommend getting more into the you know, things like skill category and things like that. So let's take a look at clearance, right? So what did I say earlier? Secret. So look here too, though, right? Secret, because of the way our filters are, this didn't always used to be the case, but it's something to definitely be cognizant of. Secret is only going to show you positions that require a secret, right? So if you have a secret clearance, but, you know, you're willing to look at other positions, you also want to make sure, you know, you select other clearance levels that a secret, you know, would basically be able to cover, right? So things like a public trust, like a NAC-I, this ADP classification that's basically a secret investigation will cover, right? So now you're not only looking at those that require secret, but basically anything that a current secret clearance would cover. So while this is still, you know, a lot of positions, it's helped narrow it down some, and now you can go into getting even more specific with the location, right? One thing to keep in mind with city is that it will list sometimes, you know, the city or town. Sometimes there will be a specific military installation listed. So there are sometimes cases where we might list the city, but the work still might actually be, you know, on base or on post. But, you know, generally speaking, the reason it's set up this way is so that you can identify, okay, you know, this work is actually, you know, on the installation, or, you know, it's in, you know, in just a nearby location, you know. So maybe you're supporting a customer that's, you know, on base or on post, but your, you know, your particular work environment is going to be, you know, at a Leidos building, you know, outside the gate, so to speak. So, you know, again, this kind of gives you a way to kind of narrow things down. And then if you wanted to say, we want to look at, you know, the Fort Worth location, right? You can narrow it down even more. You can select multiple locations, right? So if I also selected, you know, Dallas, for example, those both should be selected, right? So this is a good way to kind of start drilling down, but, you know, also, right, understanding that sometimes, you know, you may want to kind of back it out, or you may just kind of want to start all over. That's what I was trying to kind of show earlier. So you can clear filters from any one category. So, you know, say you just want to back out of this, you know, the city, and just kind of back it out from there, you can do that, right? But now you've still got your clearance filters, you still have the state filter, and you know, those are still there. If you just want to clear the, you know, the kind of filters and searching you're doing entirely, that's where you just go up here and hit clear all. And then this, yes, okay. And then it should bring you to every position here. So another reason just to go directly to this, you know, just go directly to kind of the whole job list is to allow you to do what I just did there, where you can just clear all your filters and kind of reset, so to speak, from there. So a couple other things I want to mention is telework. So telework is something that you know, obviously is you know, become more and more common right now, and is something that I certainly get asked about a lot. So something that we have done relatively recently is provided a percentage of telework for the position. So the you know, the methodology behind this is that if we have a position listed, right, and it says it's 100% telework, well then, you know, you don't necessarily need to worry about the actual, you know, location, right? Because it's not a position where you're going to need to be physically in that area. But for example, you know, if you look at a position that say is only, you know, 50% telework, right? Well then, you know, just you know, you just want to make sure that you're in that physical location, right? So a lot of times with our telework and our remote positions, it wasn't always clear, right? A position would say it's remote, but you know, if you're, you know, halfway across the country, right, should you even consider that? Because okay, it's remote, but you know, what if there's a need for to report to where that position, you know, is tied to geographically. So this allows you to have a better idea, kind of, okay, if I just want to, you know, I only want to look at those positions that are 100% remote, then, you know, I can just kind of focus in on that. So, you know, between the 100% remote and telework positions, as well as doing the geographical locations that you are looking at, you know, that can help you kind of direct and narrow your search in that capacity. So the reason I recommend doing, you know, starting your filters with location, with clearance level, and with some of these broader kind of qualifiers, so to speak, is because if you look here, I'm going to show you, you know, our different job categories, right? So you can see we have our job categories and they're pretty specific. So with that, the thing of it is that it can get kind of quickly overwhelming to say, well, where do I even kind of fit into these different job categories? So like I said, that's why I recommend, you know, if you go to location and clearance level and kind of focus in on some of those larger qualifiers and broader qualifiers from the start, that'll make it a lot more, you know, a lot more simplified when you're kind of looking at the specific competency areas and skill areas and things like that. You know, otherwise it can be kind of overwhelming with the number of positions that we have posted. And one other piece of advice that I would definitely recommend is, as you have done some of these filters and you've identified maybe some specific positions in a specific location, and you know, you've got something that is actionable, right? So take a look at some of the positions first. And so I'll just, you know, we'll kind of walk through one real quick. But you know, once you have set up some filters and you have what you feel is a good and, you know, and helpful search, make sure it's actionable. And what I mean by that is go in, click on some of the jobs, and make sure that these are positions that, you know, you're qualified for and that, you know, you want to apply for. Certainly, you know, apply for them time permitting, but make sure that they're good actionable results. And then once you've determined that and you feel comfortable that you have a good kind of search put together, what you want to do is just kind of back out here. You'll just want to create a job alert. And what that will do is then email you results anytime a new position is posted that meets that criteria. So that way you don't necessarily need to revisit the career site, right? And understanding that, you may be looking at positions, right, with several companies. This is a good way to kind of keep yourself on track and keep yourself organized, right? If you have different job alerts going for different companies that you're kind of focusing in on, it'll allow you to be a little bit more, to keep yourself kind of on point and on task with your job search. Quick recommendation, if you haven't already done so, if you are looking, or even if you feel, maybe you're gainfully employed right now, but you feel you may want to be looking in the future, just have a professional email address that, you use for your job search. If you're able to, use your first and last name, or some variation of that. And then also, have that professional email what you use for your job alerts and for your any kind of communication. So I mentioned that for a couple reasons. One is just having that professional email address, and sort of having that brand, right, where you have your name and the email address to kind of reinforce your brand and your name out there. But then also to kind of help compartmentalize and keep things, so when you're accessing this email, and this going through emails with this email box, that you're focusing on, right, the career search, and not necessarily tying it to a personal account where it can kind of get lost, or it can feel like your job search is sort of taking over your personal time, right? And that allows you to kind of map out time where you want to focus on career search, focus on applying and things like that, and then not kind of have those kind of blend together, so to speak. So real quick before I finish up with this, I did just kind of want to, let me just jump back to that Intel analyst position. So the last thing I'll just say about looking at positions in general is my biggest recommendation, especially if you're still finding that you have, a good number of opportunities that you're reviewing with Leidos, and again, that you may be reviewing with other companies as well. When you're looking at a position, just go directly to the mandatory qualifications for the position. You can, I always kind of recommend triaging positions in your job search. Just go directly to what the qualifications are and make sure that you meet the qualifications and that it's something that you can, quickly and accurately, show on the resume you're using to apply. If it's something where it may require a little bit of tweaking on your resume or something like that, that's not an issue. It's just, again, time management. So understand that, okay, as I look through positions, I want to have, basically my, yes pile, no pile, maybe pile. And, you go through and you do kind of that quick look and go directly to those qualifications. And you may find that, okay, you have more than enough yeses, right, that you can just focus on and complete those applications. Understanding that it's still a time consuming and labor intensive process to apply. And then, time permitting, right, you can look at that maybe pile and say, okay, maybe I need to adjust how your resume is focused, or adjust what you're highlighting and things like that. But that's just a quick piece of advice to kind of allow you to kind of help manage your time a little bit more effectively and efficiently. Just because oftentimes, you may read through a job description, and then, and then reach the point where you look at, a qualification that maybe you don't necessarily match or something like that. So I always recommend just go directly to that, especially because the filters are great, as I kind of showed, about narrowing in things like location and clearance level, and even category, but job level, right? You can see it's pretty broad here. So unfortunately, you can't go in here and say, okay, I have 5 years of experience, or I have, 10 years of experience. Where do I kind of fit in here, right? I mean, you can see we have over 3,200 positions in one category. So unfortunately, that's not something that's necessarily going to be as helpful. So that's another reason why I just kind of say, just go directly to those qualifications and kind of focus in on that to start. So I know there's kind of a little bit to it there, but really the best the best way to get comfortable and familiar is just to go in to use some of the filters, to look at some of the positions, and to apply, right? The more you apply to a position and to positions with organizations, the more comfortable and secondhand it's going to be. It's just similar to interviewing, right? The more you interview with prospective employers, just the more relaxed and comfortable you're going to be with that too. So there's really no substitute for experience. So just kind of go in and take a look at some opportunities, and as you get more acclimated with the process of applying, right? You may find that you can, okay, I can add more companies to my search, or I can broaden my search because I'm getting a little bit more, I'm getting a little bit more streamlined with how long it's taking me to, kind of go through some of these searches and things like that. So I'm gonna kind of back out from there. And for any of anybody that does apply, or plans on looking at positions here in the near future, certainly reach out to me once you have. That's kind of my best recommendation, for trying to get some feedback on some of these roles too, because as you saw, we have a lot of positions posted. We probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 160 to 170 people working here at Leidos within talent acquisition. So I can help direct you to the right person. But they're going to be reviewing a lot of other applicants and and individuals as well. So the best thing you can do is make sure that you meet the qualifications. Reach out to me, and I can certainly try and get you some feedback on kind of what's going on with that. So as far as any questions, because I know we're coming up on time and stuff like that.
Alex, we had
Yeah.
there's one question in the Q&A.
Yeah, so certainly as far as any kind of work accommodations, or anything regarding any kind of VA appointments and stuff like that, it's certainly something that we support and that we help provide through our human resources. It's really a situation where, as you kind of go through the process, I would recommend engaging with our HR and our benefits team, because we can kind of help provide those reasonable workplace accommodations. And certainly, like any large company, we've dedicated a lot of time and manpower and resources to making sure that we're able to kind of effectively take care of all of our employees and give them a chance to succeed and grow their career here with Leidos.